Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I am going to discuss about the biomedical significance of the dietary fibers. Now we cannot discuss dietary fibers before without defining the balanced diet. Balanced diet is one that gives our body the nutrients which it requires to function properly. And there are seven components of the balanced diet. Among these seven components, three are macromolecules, that are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And if you recall, carbohydrates and fats are for energy purposes, protein serves the bodybuilding purpose, and we need vitamins and minerals in small amount to release energy from these macromolecules. Beside these five components, we do need water and fiber for proper digestion and absorption. Dietary fiber can be defined as dietary component which gives bulk, or it is a roughage because it includes those parts of the edible plant that our digestive system cannot absorb or digest. Or dietary fibers are those components of the food that cannot be broken down by human digestive enzyme, though some of the dietary fibers are being partially catabolized, not catabolized, rather broken down by intestinal bacteria. Now, we have just said that dietary fibers are those components of the diet that cannot be properly digested. So it means they are not providing us any calories or they are energy. So then what type functions they serve in human body? Number one, that it gives bulk to the diet. So those who want to reduce their weight and they want to have something, then they can use it as a bulk. So it gives bulk to the diet, so it satisfies the appetite. Number two, it normalizes bowel movements, it relieves constipation. And then, since being a dietary component, it delays the absorption of dietary carbohydrates from the GIT, and by this way it maintains blood glucose level. Beside this, it has a cholesterol lowering effect. Now, what happens then when we consume any of the macromolecules or diet in one or other form? It is being metabolized in the body, and some of its metabolic end products, they are being excreted out from the body. Like when we consume protein, the nitrogenous part of the protein is metabolized and then it is excreted as urea and urine. Like purine, nitrogenous bases, they are being catabolized, they are being excreted as uric acid. So similarly, the cholesterol is being to some extent being excreted from the body in the form of bile salts. We can say that cholesterol is a substrate for bile acids and bile salts. And in the last lecture, I told you that we do need bile salts for digestion and absorption of dietary lipids. Beside this, it helps to reduce weight, because when people consume dietary fiber as a foods, it doesn't give any caloric value, it satisfies the appetite, and that in that sense it has a weight lowering effect. Then there is a condition which is called as diverticulosis, a disorder. And in diverticulosis, the dietary fibers are being used as a drug, they have a therapeutic role. And consumption of dietary fiber reduces the risk of the colon cancer. Now, these are the various nutritional and health implications of this dietary fiber. They prevent from the cardiovascular diseases. They provide control to the diabetes mellitus. They prevent the individual from gaining weight so that obesity can be prevented. And as I just told you that it decreases the risk of uh, colonic cancer. It relieves constipation by regulating the bowel movements, and it prevents from the formation of gallstones and other skin disorders. As I have just discussed that these dietary fibers have a cholesterol lowering effect. What happens when we don't consume dietary fiber, or due to some other reasons we have high levels of cholesterol in the body, which is called as hypercholesterolemia. This hypercholesterolemia can be a reason for stone formations in gallbladder. These are called as gallstones. And 90% of the gallstones are cholesterol in nature. So this process of stone formation in the gallbladder is called cholelithiasis. And as we came to know that dietary fiber consumption prevents the gallstone. Now, what unique properties these dietary fibers possess so that they serve all these functions we have just discussed? And we came to a conclusion by experiments and by studies that there are three different types of dietary fibers, and every type of dietary fiber have different physicochemical properties, and each class of these dietary fibers have different effect on different metabolism. So we'll just discuss the few unique properties which these dietary fibers possess so that they can serve all these functions we have just went through. Number one, they have water holding capacity, so they increase the bulk. Number one. Number two, some of the dietary fibers have ability to bind organic molecules like cholesterol. Some of these dietary fibers, they contribute viscosity and added to food as thickness. Those dietary fibers, there are some dietary fibers which are water soluble, so they dissolve in water and they form a kind of gel in the intestine so that they decrease they provide the time for the proper digestion of these dietary components. As I discussed in my last lecture, that extremes of consumption of nutrients, either in low concentration or in high concentration, can be problematic. Similar is the case with the dietary fibers. So what happens if we consume dietary fiber in excessive amount? Still it will lead to constipation. The decreased consumption is a reason for the constipation, and extreme excessive consumption also leads to constipation, but this constipation with excess is more problematic than the less dietary fibers. Then these dietary fibers, we have discussed a number of minerals, and it is being come to the observation that uh, excessive consumption of dietary fibers interferes with the absorption of certain minerals and metals, especially calcium, iron, magnesium, and zinc. Now, as we have discussed earlier, that some of the dietary fibers to some extent can be partially digested by the intestinal bacteria. So when they are being partially digested by the intestinal bacteria, they produce certain gases. And these gases can lead to abdominal distension, belching, flatulence, and can cause a considerable amount of discomfort to the individual. And also as a result of this, the patient may not the patient but the individual may observe abdominal cramping due to the excessive consumption of the dietary fiber, abdominal cramping or abdominal pain. Beside these problems, excessive consumption of dietary fibers can lead to intestinal obstruction. Now, it may be a cause of dehydration. When the fluid intake is in inadequate amount and the consumption of dietary fiber is in excess, then the dehydration may be one of the consequences of excessive consumption of dietary fibers. It may lead to acid reflux and heartburns. Now, heartburns is a digestive disorder in which the stomach acid, that is the HCl, we know that HCl is produced by the Pratt cells of the stomach, and it leaks into the esophagus. So it may cause anything from mild discomfort to sharp burning pain. And remember that the digestion and absorption of the protein is adversely affected in the presence of excessive consumption of dietary fiber. As we discussed earlier, that dietary fibers have different physicochemical properties, And on the basis of their solubility, they are being broadly classified into two types: the soluble and insoluble fibers. Insoluble fibers, they breaks down in the body and becomes gel-like. And soluble fibers, they slows down the absorption of cholesterol and sugars in the bloodstream. Whereas insoluble fibers, they stay in a fibrous form and they helps food pass through the digestive system. And remember one thing, insoluble fiber is not broken down in the body. Soluble fibers also keeps digested food moving smoothly throughout the gastrointestinal tract. And examples of the soluble fibers are oats, barley, peas, avocado, fruits, beans. They all are the examples of soluble fiber. They contain soluble fibers. Whereas the fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and nuts all contain insoluble fibers. Now, here is the example of the foods which are rich in fiber. Among these, we have whole grain breakfast cereals, whole wheat pasta, whole grain bread, and oats, barley, and rye. Fruits such as berries, pears, melon, and oranges. Vegetables such as broccoli, carrots, and sweet corns. Peas, beans, and pulses. Nuts and seeds, and potatoes with skin are the examples of fiber rich food. Now this picture shows you the variety of foods, all from plant origin, which are the rich source of dietary fiber. And this table summarizes the different type of dietary fibers with their properties. We can see here that cellulose, you are very well aware of the cellulose. While going through the carbohydrates, we discussed that cellulose is a polymer of glucose, and these glucose polymers, they are linked by beta 1,4 linkage, and we don't have enzyme that can break beta 1,4 linkages. So cellulose is a type of dietary fiber. And the cellulose, the sources of cellulose can be, it can be obtained from refined cereals, bran, whole wheat. As far as its chemical properties are concerned, it is non-digestible, water insoluble, but it absorbs water, it drags water. It is not soluble, but it drags water, so it absorbs water. And because of these qualities, it increases stool bulk, it decreases intestinal transit time, it decreases intracolonic pressure. The second type of fiber is hemicellulose. Hemicellulose, you are also aware of this hemicellulose. We can obtain this hemicellulose from, again, unrefined cereals and from the consumption of some fruits and vegetables and whole wheat. So almost the dietary sources are same. The difference between the cellulose and hemicellulose is that cellulose is non-digestible as well, but hemicellulose is partially digestible, and it is water insoluble and it absorbs water. So the only difference between the cellulose and hemicellulose is that cellulose cannot be digested at all, but hemicellulose can be partially digestible. And the same function, it increases stool bulk, it decreases intestinal transit time, and it decreases intracolonic pressure. Lignin is another class of the this dietary fiber that has been obtained from the woody parts of the vegetables. So understood it that it is not digestible, it is insoluble in water, and here the difference is that it absorb organic substances. Absorb organic substances. The first two were showing you that they absorb water, cellulose and hemicellulose, but lignin is different in the sense that it absorb organic substances. So it binds to carcinogens, it binds to the cholesterol when we say organic substances, and since it is non-digestible, so it gives bulk to the stool. Now this table is the continuation of the previous dietary fibers. Here we can see pectin and gums. Pectin and gums, they belong to the class of dietary fibers which are water soluble, and they are mucilaginous. Mucilaginous dietary fibers are those fibers which gives viscosity, and they form a viscous gel in the stomach and the intestine. So thereby they delays the absorption of the dietary nutrients and especially the carbohydrates. When they are being consumed with the food containing high carbohydrate diet, then they slows the absorption of the dietary carbohydrates, and they prevent the rise in the post absorptive phase, and similarly they decreases the rise in the insulin levels. Among these pectins and gums, the source of pectins is from fruits, and as I told you earlier, they belong to the class of fibers which are called water soluble fibers. So they are digestible and they form gel in the viscous gel in the stomach and the intestine. And because of this gel formation, the physiological effect they exert is that they decrease the rate of gastric emptying. It means the food remains there in the stomach and intestine for the longer time. Number two, by preventing the by delaying the absorption, so what will happen, the rise in the blood glucose level is being decreased, and they also decrease the serum cholesterol level. As far as gums are concerned, they are being obtained from the dried beans and oats. They are also digestible, water soluble, and belongs to the class of mucilaginous dietary fibers, and they exert the same effect that are being exerted by the pectins. Now this slide shows you the characteristics of the insoluble dietary fibers which we have discussed earlier, and uh, this slide shows you the characteristics of the soluble dietary fibers, those of the pectins and the mucilaginous. And this slide shows you that how much of the dietary fiber should be consumed per day. According to American Heart Association, 25 grams of dietary fiber should be consumed on a 2000 calorie diet when it is being consumed by an adult. Women under 50 years of age should consume 21 to 25 grams of dietary fibers per day, and men under 50, they should consume 30 to 38 grams of the dietary fiber per day.